Hello, I'm Steve Lentini, Lord and Lentini, training for life and the best getting better. Welcome to my live, and today it's about who is the thinker of the thought. What is the predominant and what are the predominant thoughts that run you? And you have a choice. I talk about the acorn brain, and people ask me, what does that mean? And what it means is we have a choice between the small minded, limited thought and the infinite, limitless thought, and which one runs you. And by the way, the acorn brain runs me from time to time, but I have a process and I have a process to manage it. And why I think it's important to overcome small minded thinking, it will change your life. And you have to prove that to yourself. It's small minded thinking to blindly follow anyone or anything. And once you prove it to yourself, you own it. So let me give you some examples of small-minded thinking and following anyone blindly. Let's look at politics today, where our government is stuck in a morass for years. Congress hasn't done anything, and guess what they do? They point the finger at each other, making one side wrong and then the other side wrong, and they both do it. And it's crazy thinking. It's a monologue and not a dialogue. It's small-minded thinking. And you can see the result of it. And we have people who follow one party or the other. I'm in neither anymore. I'm an independent, and I've been both, but I've chosen to look at any candidate for what they're suggesting, for what they stand for. And then I vote across party lines. I voted for independents. I voted for independent thinkers. I voted for Democrats, and I have voted for Republicans. But I choose. I choose. And I notice where that small-minded thought has me stuck in one idea, where I'm in a monologue in my mind and I'm not willing to look at another side. And so then I stop and ask. I ask, how did you come to that conclusion? What facts did you use? Maybe I'm missing something. I'd like to understand it. And sometimes I change my mind because, after all, I'm the thinker of my thought. Now, let's suppose you're a leader and you've never been a good follower. What John Maxwell calls good fellowship. A good leader learns by following others. And if you're a good follower, you will be a good leader. And if you've been a good follower, chances are you've probably been a good leader. But if the thought that runs you is that I'm better than everyone, and I know better, and I know it all, and maybe you say, well, I've got 30 years experience of doing this, by the way, who cares? Who cares? It's what is your experience of the moment? What is your gut feeling? And what opinion did you get from those around you? That's how you can become a good leader, a self-aware leader, a leader who is not run by their thoughts. They're run by understanding what's going on and then making a choice. Small-minded thinking is demonstrated everywhere today. When you think of one group making the other wrong, or people describing one group with a broad brush, that's all small-minded thinking. And limitless thinking is also about limitless thinking for your own dreams and desires. Do you allow them? Do you allow judgments of others to run you? Do you allow the voice in your own head that says, who? You? Not you. You could never write a book. You could never start a company. You could never develop a training program, or you could never lead this company. Whatever it is that is running you, stop first. So stop first and look at what runs you. Where are you making judgments? Where do you have small-minded, limited thinking? The acorn brain. And begin with what Dr. Srikumar Rao talks about in his books and in his personal mastery program on Audible, is develop a level of thinking above your thinking. So first you have to notice it. And then ask yourself, does it serve you? Does it serve those around you? Is it higher, limitless thinking? Now, once you observe the thinking, notice if you're automatically reacting, because the automatic thought often leads to an automatic reaction. And I would say probably 90% of the time, they're not healthy choices. They're not good decisions because you're angry. You lash out at people. Who wants to work for someone like that or wants to work with someone like that? So think about what's running you. Develop a level of thinking above your thinking. And I suggest starting with the end in mind. What is it you want to achieve? What would you like others to have as a perception about you? Maybe even ask people a 360 review, because what you'll find is there's a perception gap. There's what you think you're sending out as an energy and how people perceive you, people you think they see how you behave, and then you'll get how they really see you. And there's often a gap. Your perception, their perception. Then you can work on it with 360 feedback. You can begin to improve. And that's someone who's self-aware. That's a good leader. That's the beginning of self-control and self-awareness, where people will want to be around you. And you'll learn what behaviors you are really modeling. Because again, there's a gap. What we think we're modeling and what others see us modeling. And it's great to know that. So spend some time maybe journaling. What are the thoughts that are running you? And what are the thoughts you're not even questioning, but who is the thinker of the thought? So I challenge you to develop that level of thinking above your thinking, begin some of that introspection, get a 360, and then start to work on closing that gap. But it's a journey. If I ever say to anyone, I found the way, I tell them run away. You want to be open enough, open-minded. And so if you're narrow-minded, that's the small-minded thinker. You want to be open-minded and thinking of your journey like maybe a sailor would, constantly tacking to their destination. It's not a straight line, but a pilot can also tell you that. Life can be feedback for those who view it that way. And if you look at the result of your life, after all, we live in a cause and effect world. Whatever shows up, you have responsibility for. And when you've got small-minded thinking, or when you believe your thoughts, or when you start complaining about others, ask yourself, what are you gaining from this? There's something about it that has you hanging on to some judgment about someone, some hurt from long ago. What are you getting out of it? But that's for people that can question and rise above that small-minded thinking. And they realize they are the thinker of your thought. Even one of my dogs agrees. So I challenge you to take on the journey. Begin questioning your thinking. Begin looking at where you want to go. Start with the end in mind and model the behavior of people like that. Get a mentor, perhaps someone who's already done what you'd like to do. Reach out to people, be vulnerable, ask for help, get a coach. I have a self-awareness coming out in March. It'll be 6 modules. And if you email me, I'll give you the link for free. You can take the course at your leisure. But I'm not here to sell anything. I'm here to help people. It's what I do. And it's a journey, as I can tell you. I am on the journey every day of questioning my small-minded thinker. And some days or some moments during the day, it does get me. Think about what Wayne Dyer said. When you squeeze an orange, you get orange juice. When humans get squeezed, when we get squeezed by events or people, we get what we need to be working on. That's a thought. We get what we need to be working on. if we can step back, and reflect a bit. Because after all, we know we can choose our thought. Will your small minded thinker run you? Will your acorn brain run you, or will you run it? Will you run the job, or will the job run you? Will you let out of nowhere thoughts run you, or will you run them? Will you choose healthy, optimistic thinking, or will you sink into negative thinking? It's a choice. As I've said, who is the thinker of the thought? And it's a great place to begin, but prove it to yourself. I challenge you. Any questions? Steve at stevelentini.com. Steve at Steve, L as in Linda, E-N, T as in Tom, I-N-I.com.